Oh, am I? Did I already hit that? Oh my God, I'm so crazy. Let me look at my phone. Sorry. I feel like I do something funny every time I stream. Let's see. Am I already on? Oh yeah, stop live stream. I am so sorry. I didn't realize I already did it. Oh, bear with me. All right, I just pulled up the presentation and I just want to make sure, check one more thing and then we'll start. Oh, that's so funny. Um, Hold on one more second. So today we are talking about content calendar. So if you have one, I'm freezing my own thing over here. If you have one, I want to hear in the chat. Like, do you already use one? Are you thinking about using one? Is it something that is important to you? Not important to you? If you follow me for a while, okay, first, you know I'm crazy and I do this crazy startup every single time I start up. I don't know what the problem is. I can't get it together. But let's go to my but I think most entrepreneurs are distracted like I am right now. Well, I think that most of us are a little bit distracted, right? So I think that I'm cracking it. All right. I gotta get back to the Zoom. Okay, good. I'm good. Here we go. It's really only 2 minutes after time, but I started early. It was just, as we like to say, farting around. Anyway, content calendar. It is so important. It's really, I think, a matter of training yourself to use it. So a lot of you know that I own also a language school. And in the language school, one of the things that I teach is, I don't actually teach the classes anymore, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But one of the things that I still do is the SAT. And in the SAT, that's if you're from somewhere else, that's a entrance exam to get into schools in the States, colleges in the States. So anyway, one of the things that I teach is SAT English section, not the math. God help us all. And active reading, if you've never heard of it, is one of the things that we teach because it's a lot of, it used to be, they changed it, it's so much easier now, but it used to be like a ton of reading. Anyway, long story short is when you first start practicing active reading, you have to like stop and ask yourself questions and you go a lot slower. But in the long run, it helps you retain that information. It just helps you like exponentially. The same thing is kind of true with the content calendar. It's sort of a pain to get going. It's sort of difficult to want to take the time. You know, we're always like in a massive rush and in a massive, you know, just race to the finish or whatever. So it's hard to get going and it's hard to really do it well. But if you can do this in your business, it will make all the difference in the world. So let me share my screen. There we go. Here we go. So creating a content calendar that works. That's kind of a trick too. Another thing that I talk about really quick before we start, another thing that I always talk about is even if you are a one-man show right now, you should be trying to figure out how to create your SOPs, how to do other things. Well, your content calendar is one of those things. This is one of the very first things that you're going to want to get some help from your VAs with. But once you can really get your content in there, it's reusable, then you know where it is. Another great thing is we always want to be as helpful as possible, especially if you are starting a new relationship in the DMs. or if you see somebody talking about something, if you have a way to be able to help them, why wouldn't you, right? So if you create your content calendar and you have links to everything you've ever done, then I can say, hey, I did a masterclass on that. Let me send you a link to that and let them go look at it. It's amazing, right? You've got it out there already. It's something that you've already done. You know, you're just helping, and it's a way to be able to keep that organized. It goes from simple to complicated. The one I use is, I'll be honest, on the side of complicated, but it has everything that I could possibly want. What I always tell my clients is, don't use the whole thing. You know, hide the ones you don't want to use, or move it around, rearrange it, decide how you want to use it. But I like to track as much as humanly possible because I'm a little crazy. All right, let's dive in. So conceptualize up. So if you don't know me, and if you're just watching this for the first time, I am super cheesy and I love to do acronyms or something like that. So today we're doing an acronym, and this is the first letter. If you want to guess it, it's an easy one today. Drop it down below. All right, so conceptualize your goals. Oh, I'm going to pull up our group, see if I can see anybody commenting. If you're watching it on the replay, always do hashtag replay. Love to see you in there. Let's see. 2 seconds. All right. Let's see. All right. So conceptualize, C is the first one. You're taking notes. Conceptualize your goals, setting objectives. So when I first start working with my clients in the STAR transformation program, this is one of the first things we do. What is it that you want to accomplish? A lot of times people just start buying out content. I know that a lot of people like to put maybe religious quotes or affirmations or positive things. I'm not saying you should not do that, but if that is your only form of content, how is that really helping your client move in a way that you want them to move, right? So you want your client to be taking some sort of a journey with you, and there are probably some things that they need to know or figure out before they can start working with you. Maybe you can help them along that. Maybe you can help a lot of people who may not ever be able to work with you. You can give them the information. Remember, people aren't hiring you for your information. They're hiring you for your specific eyes on their stuff, for your, white glove, maybe you keep in touch with them more frequently, that type of stuff, but they want your eyes on their stuff. So it's not the same thing, but as much as you can, you want to bring people through that journey. So conceptualize your goals, figure out what it is that you want to accomplish with your content. Do you want people interacting with you? And if so, are you creating interactive content? That's our topic for next week. Are you creating that interactive content that's going to get them responding to you? So that's one of the things that you want to do. All right, next one, audience analysis. So you want to figure out what your audience wants. Some of these other things should not be there. You want to figure out what your audience wants. So we all know your target market. We know, I always say, like, you want to get in their head. You want them to feel seen and heard. You want them at all times to feel like, oh my gosh, she totally gets me. She gets what I'm going through. That little squirrel that I happen to have, all the time. You can see I've got mine on high. So you want to do everything you can to be able to understand your audience, what they're going through, what they're thinking, what they're excited about, these types of things, so that you can talk directly to them. A lot of a lot of my clients don't necessarily want to build an empire, right? That's not top of mind for them. They want something that they can do that's fulfilling, that they enjoy, that they're passionate about, that they can make some extra money. Some of them are paying off debt. Some of them are, helping their kids or grandkids. Some of them are, enjoying life with it, eating dinner out a little bit more often, going on vacation, whatever it is. So they all want some extra money for something. All right. So meaning most of my clients, I said extra money. A lot of people want this money to live off of as well, but they don't want the size of an empire. Most of my clients. Wow, that was super early in today. All right. So L, layout planning. Structuring your calendar. How do you want it structured? What do you want to see? When do you want it by days of the week? Do you want it by months? What do you want to see? How often, frequency, are you going to be posting? Are you posting 5 times a day? Or hopefully nobody's posting 5 times a day on one platform. Are you posting to 5 different platforms 1 time a day? That type of stuff. Timing. When are you posting? So I just put AM and PM on mine. I don't, I think I do actually have a time on mine, but sometimes I don't actually put it in there. But if you could get that in there, that's a good thing too, right? Strategy. What's your strategy? And is that part of the layout? So for example, in LinkedIn, I'm trying to post a morning and afternoon, and I keep missing the afternoon. I need to schedule it. So that would be AM and PM. I want to have in there both of those posts so that it's easy. I can just go in and post it or schedule it, which would be the best idea. So even if you're scheduling it out, what would be the benefit of planning this out? Well, I can tell you, if we want to talk about strategy, if you know what's coming up, then you can use those in your content as calls to action or as your content, right? Sometimes I lay out my content based on what Elevate and Engage is about. So anything I do that week will be, geared towards that topic. All right, who is Erica Leary? If you don't know me, my name is Erica Leary. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, Hotlanta. I live in Panama City, Panama, and I have since 2007. And that's when I started my business, believe it or not. Coincidentally, one had nothing to do with the other. And I actually started my business almost like on a whim. I bought the 4-Hour Work Week. If any of you have not yet read it, love it. At the airport on the way home to Atlanta one time. And I fell in love with the concepts, the idea. And it wasn't about working 4 hours, but it was about, living in your passion and doing what you want to do when you want to do it, which I was clearly already all about that. I just moved countries. I wasn't really, can't remember if I'd started doing anything at the time, but what I ended up doing was teaching English, and it was very few hours. And I eventually did that on my own so I could create my own hours. Anyway, I was all about trying to figure out how I could do what I wanted to do and have that time freedom for a lot of different reasons before I really needed it. And what was beautiful is my grandmother, when my grandfather died, I went and lived with her for like 3 months, and I could do most of my work online. So anyway, amazing. So what got me into it was the book, Leveraging and Outsourcing. And I still believe in both of those a lot. And if you hear me talking about, even when you're a one-man show and you can't afford your first VAs, it doesn't really matter. You want to structure your business and your life around as if you are going to hire them out, because as soon as you can, you want to start offloading little by little some stuff. And sometimes it's hard to figure out what you need to be offloading. And so you want to do that from the get-go. All right. Went to a tangent there. It wasn't even about me. All right. Establishing a content themes, thematic consistency. So you could do this there's a lot of ways you can look at this. So in my coaching, I like to have people figure out what their pillars are. So what are your content pillars that you're actually speaking about? So for me, for example, I talk a lot about content marketing. I talk a lot about personal branding. I talk a lot about strategy and having a consistent, sustainable business with foundation that's really built out. Those are a mixture of, beliefs and content. But so you're going to create that into your pillars. But could you also have thematic consistency? So you could have themes per month. Maybe in certain months, you talk about certain things, or maybe in certain weeks, you talk about certain things. I do mine a little bit more weekly because I base a lot of mine on the show. So whatever I'm doing on the show is basically what I'm talking about that week. So I do mine a little bit more like that. But it doesn't matter how you slice it up. You want to try to keep it as consistent as possible so that, number one, it's easier for you. It's easier to plan. It's easier to understand, but also, they can kind of get into a groove as well. And that kind of helps. So what are some content themes that you can think of that you've used? So I'll just go over a couple of them, but back to school, maybe all September is back to school and everything you talk about is back to school type stuff. So how can you talk about that? If you're doing, for example, in my business, if content marketing is one of my pillars that I talk about, how can I incorporate that into back to school? Well, productivity, right? Hey, you need to really start batching your content. You can theme your content around your life. If your life is all around getting the kids ready for school, how can you incorporate that into your content? So I could talk about those types of things for back to school. Or personal branding, same thing. I can talk about how you can correlate the stories that happen in your life, bring those into your business and, marry the two. So those are types of things I could do, the stories that I'm talking about with back to school, right? Your kids, running around in the morning and one forgetting a sock and going out the door without one sock or whatever it is. You can bring that into your topics that you talk about and marry them. Some people will tell you to just do like personal stuff. I'm not big on that at all. If you disagree with this, then, we all do what we want to do and should do. We all should do what we want to do and what works for us. So I'm just telling you the way I see it from a business point of view. I do believe that everything should be super intentional. So if you put a piece of content out there about broccoli and your topic is not nutrition or working out or anything, I want to know, why am I looking at this piece of broccoli? What does that have to do with me? And if I'm on your page because you talk about marriage, right? I want to know what that broccoli has to do with marriage. And I want you to be able to loop that in. So it could be something like, my kids hate broccoli and I really want them to eat it. And it starts an argument at the dinner table. And now my husband and I are fighting about the argument that it starts over broccoli and blah, 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 blah. It could go into something like that, right? You want to loop it back to marriage. Now, oh yeah, I totally get it. How did they solve that problem? I'm in. I want to know because I've had that argument at my dinner table or whatever, or something similar. So you want to loop it back in. My brain goes off on tangent. So establishing content themes, we're talking about how you can have a theme. So you could do monthly themes. So September could be back to school. October could be a whole Halloween thing, right? It could be a whole Halloween thing. November, it could be all Thanksgiving. December, all Christmas or holidays. November could be, your theme for November might be family, or thankfulness or whatever it is. You can create those out. It is really great if you think about these ahead of time, so that you can start making sure that your content aligns to it. Trying to align your content to it afterwards is like hard, kind of difficult. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to marry them before you get to them. All right. So establishing content themes. Tell me in the comments, what kind of themes have you used that are totally different? So example, September's my birthday month. Next year, I am totally doing a whole birthday month. I'd already decided it. So what could you do? Instead of back to school, I'm going to do a whole birthday month in September. I didn't even do back to school. I don't typically even do the monthly themes, but you can. It's a way to do it. I do mine weekly, but I could do my weekly themes and an overall monthly theme as well. I think I've done that before, but that's cool. It takes planning. You have to plan. Why again do you want to plan? Well, number one, that makes your content a lot easier. It makes it so easy. If you have laid out already, okay, these are my 5 pillars of content. This is what I talk about. These are the 10 things under each that I can talk about. And then this is my theme and I want to marry it to it, right? You can just mix and match, like those shirts when you were little, like bee goes with bee or elephant goes with elephant. I didn't have those, but I heard about them. All right. So it just makes it a whole lot easier, especially if you're doing it on the fly. If you are doing it in advance, again, you've already planned it out and then you can just knock it out really fast. So I'm big on batch, and even if you're only batching a week in advance, still, you know exactly what you want to do. You don't have to spend 4 hours planning out content every time because you've got it. All right. And all right, who knows the word? Who knows the word? It's so easy. Put it in the comments if you already know the word. Navigating tools and resources. So leverage technology. And what are we talking about? Scheduling tools. Dun, 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 dun. The easiest. Almost all of them have a free way to schedule your tools now. So don't use that as an excuse as to why you're not doing it. There are some paid ones that are really cool. That give you some more information and some other benefits. So if you use some of the paid ones, you can repurpose really quickly, really quickly. That's a really big benefit of some of the paid ones. But, if you have your content calendar, you can also do it. If you're using VAs, that all of it makes it a little bit easier, right? So what else could you use? Technology, ChatGPT. You don't want to copy and paste, right? ChatGPT. Don't do that. You don't want it to be, so robotic. You want to bring so the whole purpose of doing content, well, one of the biggest purposes of doing content is for people to know, like, and trust you, right? Not know, like, and trust ChatGPT. That's not what it's about. So you want it to be your personality, your voice. That's why video is so amazing. Because even if you use ChatGPT to help you write all of the content, they still see your smiling face. They hear your voice. They hear your tonation. Whenever I am doing video, as you can tell, I go off on tangents. I bring in stories that I didn't mean to, and I'll just say them in the middle of it. That's the way people get to know you. So video is amazing for that. But you can use ChatGPT. You can use editing tools, right? What do I use? Descript on my phone. CapCut. Whatever. Use as many tools and resources as your business needs. Do not use too many. This is what some people get in the problem of having, 180 tools and resources. And then, if you're like me, you start spinning and you use none of them. So you don't want to do that either. Have 1 or 2 for the things that you need to do. And I will be honest with you, like in mine, I use my content calendar. Sometimes I have 2. I do get a little nutty. I use the ones I just talked about, Descript, CapCut, I use the depending on what I'm doing, I'll use the editor in TikTok. I love the editor in TikTok. It's really easy for some reason. I'll use that. I can't think of any other. What tools and resources do you guys use to create your content? There's Canva. Hello. How did I leave that out? Canva for everything. I love Canva. Oh, you might use something like Midjourney for your pictures or some other things, whatever. Have a handful of ones that you use and that you love, and then stick to those. Don't use, can't see what you're saying. Oh, watching. What's that, Michael? Don't use 1,000, select a couple that you love. And then maybe if you're, curious, which I'm sure 99.9% of you are, then decide, okay, I'm going to try a new one every month, or every weekend, I'm going to, look at a new one and test it out on your off time, not on your clock time, right? So those are the things that geeks like us do for fun. I get it. So on your off time, not your clock time. Just keep that in mind. You don't want to start testing out tools when you really need to be creating content. Is that the best use of your time? No. All right. I mean, it might eventually. I don't want to discourage you from doing it in your off time, not your clock time, because that could be one of the tools that you bring in that saves all the time in the world, or, ups your branding or whatever it is. So yes, do it, but don't get caught up in it. All right. So D, we're at CALEND. I'm sure you can guess it. Drop it below. Who knows the word? All right, batch your content creation. So you want to plan it out. You want to know what you're going to do. Use those themes if you want. Use your pillars. Use everything that you have, and then batch your content creation. Some of you that do video will create an entire script and then read it, and even if you use like a teleprompter. And I've done that. I'm not going to lie. I love using teleprompters, but if I go back and watch it, I can totally tell the ones that I did and the ones that I didn't. So I'm not going to say don't do it, because sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes it's just, I can't say 2 words without like forgetting what I want to say. So sometimes it's like impossible. But most of the time, the best way to do, if you're doing video, the best way to do your video is to just put 3 bullets up. A lot of times what I'll do is I will read the hook, and then I will have my 3 bullets, because I cannot memorize the hooks. I have like the worst, crazy, weird strangeness. So I'll read the hook, which is the worst time to be reading in a video, is those first 3 seconds. So hopefully you're better than me and you can just say the hook. I try to do it a couple of times first, and then I end up reading it half the time. It's probably half now. Half the time I do, half the time I don't. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Get your content out there, and don't think that it has to be perfect. Batch your content and make sure that in your planning you have out, like, plan the content, batch, create the content, right? Then you have captions, descriptions, add graphics, distribute, because I have been very well known for creating a ton of content and never getting it out there, because I don't feel like creating the picture that goes with it or whatever. So make sure you have that in your calendar in a different day, or you've assigned it to somebody if you're at that stage, which is the best, right? All right. So developing content ahead of time, huge, huge, huge. If you at least do a couple of evergreen type pieces that you have that you can put in on a low day or on a day that you don't want to create content, if you're trying to stay consistent, which we all should be, that will definitely help. All right, assigning responsibilities, delegation, and collaboration. So A lot of you are like, I don't have a VA. Do you have a college kid, a high school kid? You know, can you rope in your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom, your dad? You know, maybe they're sitting around bored. What is it that you could give other people that that would help you out? So, and I'm talking about specifically with your content creation. I just named like a bunch of stuff, right? Could somebody do the research for you? Maybe if you have your pillars set out, if you know what's going under those pillars, if you've got themes, then maybe somebody could, right? Even just put those bullets together for you, and then you can create the content over that. That helps a lot. Could somebody do the research to get you some quotes? Like maybe you do all the content and you want some quotes or some stats to go with it. Somebody else could do that. Maybe you could have somebody do the graphics, which I love having somebody else do my graphics. Maybe you have somebody else that schedules it all. Maybe you have somebody go back in and add it to the content calendar afterwards. You know, you want it to be in there ahead of time, but if you can't, then get it in there afterwards. Sometimes what I end up doing is I plan it out, and I'll use Asana, like I'll plan it out, but I don't have like the links and the blah, 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 blah. And my content calendar is actually like an Excel, and it has a lot more stuff in there that I want. So I'll use like an Asana to plan it, and then I'll use the content calendar to put it all in there. And that is an easy place for a someone else to go back in and get your content afterwards and stick it in there. Get that clip and stick it. That type of stuff I love. Whatever. So there's a lot of different ways that you could have other people do it. And I also said collaboration. So you're not going to assign responsibility to a collaborator, but maybe there are two of you that create content, right? Then you want to delegate who's doing what or which parts of the content. But if you're doing pure collaboration with somebody outside of your business, you know, you still want to discuss how we're going to get it out there, who's going to do what, if maybe we're both going to create some extra pieces of content to boost that piece of content, whatever it is. You definitely want to know all of that ahead of time, and assigning responsibilities is a big thing. And if that's not in your content calendar, it should be, right? Even if you have nobody in your business right now. This is so genius. I heard this the other day, and I'm actually have not done this in my business, and I'm going to implement it. So I do have people I can assign things to, but some things that I have not yet gotten delegated. They're still mine, whatever I'm trying to say. But I know that eventually I'm going to. Those things you can assign to people. So watch this. If you have nobody in your business, name each person, like Greg for graphics, right? Have a guy named Greg for graphics. Have let's see, for distribution, Debbie. You know, have Debbie for distribution. If you do this in your entire business, this is so helpful later on, because once you do actually have people, for example, if you don't have a help desk, but you get a lot of questions, have your staff named so that they can send messages to your staff, right? So Sally, you see my naming thing with the cheese? Sally is part of your staff. It might be what's the name? Ignatius. Ignatius. Oh my God, I'm totally butchering that name. Might be Isabel. It starts with an I. Might be Isabel for information. Whatever it is, you don't have to get cheesy on your names, but you could name people in your business. You could even create emails for them if you wanted to, so that it's separate from you, and you know that that's where it's going to be going. can change the names later when you have real people, but you know that's a piece that you're going to delegate out. And that helps you to separate the parts of your business, the parts of each process, the way it needs to be separated. Because a lot of times what we'll do in our calendar is create content. There are so many pieces of creating content. You know, if you have in your calendar, create content, you'll never get it done, right? You'll do like me and have a bunch in your computer, because there's the planning. There's the, you know, structuring, like, do you create outlines? Do you create bullet points? There's the, you know, hooks, the headlines, the captions, descriptions, everything that comes afterwards, the pictures, graphics, blah, 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 distribution. So there's the, you know, getting it into the content calendar, all of that. There's a lot of steps that go with it. So you want to make sure that you know that there's separate steps, so that if it's possible, you know, maybe you have one person do all of those steps, or you have one person that does 3 of those steps. Well, name those 3 steps with that person's name. That's okay. Nancy says those 3, but you know that those 3 would be like one person. How many of you are like, oh yeah, I need to start doing that in my business? Again, let's go back to the beginning when I was talking about some of these things might take a minute longer, right? They might slow you down at the beginning, but they are going to speed up exponentially when you get it going. Reviewing and revising, continuous improvement. So we are always trying to improve. If you're not looking back at your content and realizing what went well and what didn't. Now, in your content calendar, could you have a place where you can go back and rate it? So in mine, I have like how many people interacted, how many people liked it, how many people commented, those types of things. I've got that in my content calendar. You can go back in your reviewing and revising part and add all that in later. You see where I'm going with this? You want to know these later on, if you do it in Excel or however you do it, but you can go back in and say, you know, how many people shared this, or which piece of content over the last month got the most likes, or the last 90 days got the most likes. So you can pull that up, and now you know, okay, I'm repurposing these, or I am recreating these 3 because they were like amazing. I'm recreating them. I'm repurposing these others, blah, 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 blah. So you can do that when you have the data, but going back and trying to add it all, you know, when you want to use it is way too difficult. So if you can have that piece of your business, of your planning in your actual calendar, right? Have that be a piece of it, reviewing and revising, and then in your content calendar, you've got those in there so that it's aligned with the content. Hopefully everybody knows where I'm going. I'm not all over the map. All right. So, that should not say the foundation. That should say calendar framework. So take a screenshot if you want. I won't even go into this. I changed this once I download it, and then I made some other changes online, and then I re-download. Don't even listen to my crazy. All right, so conceptualize your goals, audience analysis, layout planning, establishing content themes, navigating tools and resources, developing content ahead of time, assigning responsibilities, reviewing and revising. You want to make sure that your content calendar is as thorough as possible. And I know everybody's like, oh, it's so complicated. You know, I just need something simple. You might need something simple like my Asana, you know, planning, but your content calendar should be as robust as humanly possible, because you want to be able to go back and review and revise. You want to be able to check it out and send a link to somebody. Those are really, really, really powerful things. All right, I didn't mean to switch the page, but I did. So we're going there. All right, I've got some workshops coming up. I was going to do this one this week, but I have not told anybody about it. So we moved it to October 4th. All right, so finish strong, Q4 success blueprint. If you have not yet planned your Q4, I want you to come. And this will be an overall planning, not just your content, right? Q4 success blueprint, strategize your final quarter to surpass your year-end goals. Let's do this. Let's rock this fourth quarter like no other. I want everybody to start thinking, what would make this last quarter of the year as good as the other three, better than the other three, or better than last year, whatever you, however you want to look at it. But let's really go all in on this last one. So Q4 Success Blueprint, October 11th and 18th. If you're part of, if you're, my clients, you get all of these included. But if not, and you're interested, just DM me and I'll give you the details. Content Calendar Bootcamp, build 30 days of post in one day. We do this monthly, intensively craft a month's worth of engaging content to keep your audience captivated daily. And then October 18th, Profile Power Up. We're going to go over profiles. A lot of my clients have been saying that they need to redo theirs. So we're going to go over how you can really do your profile to attract your ideal clients. So those are the three coming up. If you're interested, let me know. If you're interested in one of them, let me know, or all three. All right. Unleash your creative. What's next? Behind every consistent brand is a well-oiled content calendar. That means use it, right? You need to use it. And you can start seeing patterns of what's going really well. What type of content are you posting that's working and not working and that type of thing. So use it. All right, next week on Elevate and Engage, maximizing engagement with interactive content. Love to see you there. Maximizing engagement with interactive content. And one last thing. Empty calendar to fully booked. So October 9th, Wednesday, October 9th, 12 p.m. Eastern. And that's EDT. I don't know why the whole EDT, EST, I can't do it. So 12 o'clock Atlanta time, 5 p.m. UK time. All right, see you all in the group. Let's have some questions about what's going on. If you want to DM me, I'd love to hear you. Anything that you have going on about the content calendar, let me know in the comments below. Are you currently using one? How is it working for you? Are you not using one? Do you know you should be using one? Where are you at with that? All right, have an amazing rest of your weekend, and I will see you in the comments or the DMs. Ciao, ciao.